You're listening to Wildlife Control Consultant, where we provide research-based information on all things related to vertebrate pest management. Hi everyone, Stephen Vantassel here, Wildlife Control Consultant, bringing you another episode of the Wildlife Control Consultant podcast, where we cover all things related to the academic work related to vertebrate pest control. Now, academic may scare some of you. We try to break things down into practical means. However, we do want to make sure you understand we are a technical podcast. So if you're looking for just, basic information on how to control X, Y, and Z, there are lots of people out there that will do a great job with that. But we try to delve into things that ordinarily can't be gleaned from your regular experience on the job. So this is where we explore the literature, the academic work, technical information that you just can't necessarily learn on your own unless you've been doing it for years and have the time to pay attention, which of course many people in business simply don't have. So we do that for you. All right, well, enough about how we differentiate ourselves from others. I hope you're doing well. Again, my life has been incredibly busy, but nevertheless, things are still going along well, and I hope they are too. If you need to reach out to me, you can reach me at wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com, wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com. Just got an email today. In fact, someone was looking for information regarding the translocation of raccoons, and I was glad to tell him, look, I just did 2 podcasts on that, so directed him over to that. But nevertheless, your question may be something I haven't covered already, in which case we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to get ideas from the public of what they would like to have me covered, because otherwise I just talk about what I am interested in. All right, well, you can see my website here, the wildlifecontrolconsultant.com website, and this is my store. These are some materials that you may be interested in purchasing. We do training. We also even have a course on how to bait cage traps like a professional. It's not about necessarily what you're going to be using for your bait, but how you're using your bait so that you can use it more effectively. A lot of people, just smear something on some bread and throw it in the back of the cage. We talk about the theory of proper baiting of cage and box traps. Nevertheless, we also do some expert witness material as well if you're interested in that. So you can definitely try to reach me again at wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com. Well, I believe I mentioned this on another podcast, a previous one. I said I was going to give a little bit of a review on the Mallis Handbook of Pest Control, and I am going to do one of those reviews today, and I just wanted to show it to you here. This is it, the Mallis Handbook for Pest Control, or Mallis Pest Control Handbook. I'm not reading it here, obviously, but I'm hoping you can see it. It is massive. This thing must weigh 7 or 8 pounds. It is absolutely huge. These are 8.5 by 11 sheets. It is a total of over 1,200 pages. I'm looking at, including the index, 1,351 pages long. It is massive. Okay, so you can see that's almost, I think that's got to be at least a 3.5-inch spine there. And it is double columned with black and white photos. It does have some plates in the middle, because it's dealing with insects. Now, some of you in wildlife control may not be familiar with this book because this is really designed for the pest control world. So 90% of this is dealing with bugs, okay? But I'm not going to be reviewing the bug section. I'm going to be talking about 2 chapters. One of them is on mice and rats, written by just basically call him a rodentologist god, Dr. Robert Corrigan. He is an absolute legend. He has forgotten more about rodents than the vast majority of us will ever even know. I mean, it's just truly incredible. But so he has revised his chapter and expanded it. So this is the 11th edition. Some of you may be familiar with the 10th edition. This takes it up to another level, to be sure. And Dr. Corrigan's chapter in the 10th edition was a thing to behold. And he has kind of outdid himself. What else would you expect from Dr. Corrigan? Can't speak highly enough of it. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the chapter that he has here. So let me just show you how big his chapter is. Let me get the pages out here for you. So he's the opening chapter. And his document is, oh dear, about 119 pages long. Absolutely incredible. The bibliography alone, oh dear, the bibliography he has alone goes for almost 30 pages, just in bibliography alone. Absolutely amazing. Okay, so I just throwing that out there. So let me talk about some of the highlights of this particular chapter for you. Of course, the chapter's called Rats and Mice. There, if you haven't seen, Dr. Corrigan has a little bio on him. There you can see him there. Little bio on him. And basically what he does is he covers everything. So let me just sort of go through the highlights. This is in the margin, just to kind of give you a sense of what he covers in this chapter. Economic and important significance of rodents, rodents and human disease, commensal rats, the house mouse, physical senses of rats and mice, natural enemies of net rats and mice, IPM strategies for rodents, rodent inspections and monitoring, rodent exclusion, rodenticides, bait, and trap stations. So, I'm not going to bore you with all of the details. I just wanted to talk about a few of the highlights of this particular book. One of them is, of course, this section on diseases. Now, diseases can be overhyped when we're dealing with wildlife, with vertebrates. Dr. Corrigan will give you information that's going to be practical, because he's been involved in some of the research on surveying rodents for diseases that can afflict humans. And so, of course, his work in New York City, he's in sort of Ratopolis there, probably one of the greatest cities that has rats, and it is truly amazing. I've been to 2 of his courses there in New York City. They've got a lot of rats, so he will talk about that. He'll have one of the things he mentions here is Toxoplasma gondii. Now, we typically think of this disease as something affecting cats, but of course, cats get it by eating rodents that have been infected with this particular parasite. So he talks about that. He has a whole call-out section on minimizing wild animal disease risks to pest management professionals. One of the challenges when we're in the vertebrate pest world is that if you're using pesticides, you have to be wearing your PPE for the pesticides, but you also have to be thinking about the disease risk, right? So you not only have the pesticide risks, you also have the disease risk. And he gives you some actionable information here on how to minimize your risk to zoonotics, right? Zoonotics are diseases that transmit from animals to us, right? And so you want to be safe out there, to be sure. So I've highlighted another section here. Let's see. I got to get to it. I had a few things I wanted to point out. So he talks about the anticoagulant baits as well as the non-anticoagulant baits. He had a little section here on bromethylene that I thought was useful, as well as cocalciferol. Of course, he also discusses zinc phosphide as well. So he talks about the issue of, these are brief. I mean, he could have gone into a lot more depth, but if you're looking for the information that's distilled fast, something that you want to have as a reference material, you have to be careful of online stuff occasionally, right? So this is sort of something you can refer back to, because this becomes sort of the state of the industry, so to speak, right? In terms of the biology, about some of the tools that we're using, it becomes sort of standard. That's why some people are very proud of collecting all 11 of the volumes, right? Because this is the 11th edition, and you can see they don't get it. They're not getting smaller. I would suspect if they go to a 12th, they may have to go to a double edition because the spine's getting too big. But maybe they'll just make pages larger. He has another section here where he talked about ways to minimize risk to the environment using rodenticides. And so he speaks about, because this is a growing issue, of course, within the industry, and he will give you actionable material on how to reduce pesticide risks when you're using them to control rodenticides. And of course, we need to be doing that, right? There's a growing, sometimes irrational, let's be honest, but there is a growing concern among many of your customers about the use of rodenticides, because the anti-rodenticide crowd keeps pumping the public with information. I just criticized someone who should have known better. On LinkedIn, for example, he had a little posting saying, there is never a reason to have a bait station outside of a building. And I just wrote on there, really? I said, what about an embankment? Excuse me, like a dike. There are places where rodents have burrowed into dikes that prevent water from moving. And can you put your rodenticide inside of a building there? Right? Obviously not. So it's clearly the statement that he made was patently false. So there may be few reasons to put your bait outside of a structure, but there are some, right? And so this is something that needs to be addressed, and we need to be pushing back, but you need to be sure that you are using the best techniques for managing rodents, and without knowing their biology, their behavior, and some of the insights he brings in here are going to be helpful for you so that you don't get educated rodents, right? So that's going to be important. I have another section here that I kind of thumb marked here, and let's see what it says. He talks about the use of carbon monoxide injectors, which I was kind of surprised that he would talk about, because it's relatively new, but he covered it. So he has a whole little couple paragraphs here about the use of carbon monoxide and also smoke bombs, and the use of fumigants and asphyxiants in the control, because you have leaf attack coming out with carbon dioxide. You've got, of course, the smoke bombs, which are carbon monoxide. And so there's newer tools. Some of these fumigants are being used. Why? Because the rodenticides are under such pressure. And he mentions those as well. He even has a section here on humane rodent control. It goes for about two columns. So if someone wanted to hire you and they said, are you going to use humane control? Well, how would you respond, right? How would you respond to this person? Where if you have a manual such as this, it can help you provide that information to your client, knowing that it's done by someone with a PhD, as well as just the wealth of experience that Dr. Corrigan brings to the industry. Talks about rodent odors, and of course he will sometimes just make some passing comments in his article, and then refer you to the bibliography. And some of the bibliography, you may say, well, those are going to be journal articles, I can't get them. Some of those journal articles you will be able to access online if you wanted to kind of do a deep dive into something. Not all of them, of course. You won't be able to get a hold of all of them, but some of them he'll point out where you can get some of these things, because he goes way back in history. I pulled up an article, a journal actually, I think it was a diary by someone who did rodent control, and he said some of the insights from this person who was doing their observations, I believe in the 1800s, are still relevant today. And you can download that particular publication. So absolutely amazing. Let me just put it up there again for you. This is the book. And again, you may say, wow, is it really worth just purchasing it just for that one chapter? In my opinion, yes, it is. Now, how much does it cost? Well, it's about $180. If you bought it on the pre-sale, it was about $150, and they included postage. That ended last November in 2025. So here we are in 2026. You're not going to get that. So I believe the cost is somewhere up around $180 plus shipping. So if it's something that you're looking to have, I would certainly encourage you to pick it up, because it's sort of like the state of the art for rodent control up to this particular point. If you're looking for a chapter that just pulls everything together in one place, that would be, if you wanted to kind of get the breadth of what's available, and you will glean new insights that you probably weren't thinking of. Maybe you had some clue of, but you weren't completely aware of. But Dr. Corrigan will bring that for you. So where do you pick it up? Of course, Pest Control Technology. I just simply went on here, and this is the URL. I'll try to put that into the video as well. It's pctonline.com news, and just look up 11th edition of the Mallis Handbook. Mallis is spelled with two L's, Mallis. 11th edition of the Mallis Handbook, Mallis. Just Google that and you'll get to the PCT site, and you'll be able to pick it up there and purchasing it. I believe it's going to be on Amazon as well. Let's take a quick look at Amazon. Let's see if Amazon has it. See if they've got it. Let's see if they do. No, I do not see it here. No, but they have some back issues. If you're able to, if you're saying, well, Stephen, I can't afford the new one, right? And if you can't afford the new one, I get that, then you may want to check out the older one. But even this, used, is $189 even for the used ones, but you may be able to look around and find one. The 10th edition is also well worth its purchase. Now, if you are ever looking to get into bug control, right, this would also be useful for you as well, because these are revised every 10 years. I think that's what their goal is. About every 10 years or so, they have to come out with a new one. And so they update everything. And so it's going to be useful for you for a while. And that would be something that's going to be helpful for you. The knowledge that's occurring in these fields is changing rapidly, as well as the tools. So it'd certainly be something worthwhile on your shelf. I know a lot of people don't like to read. A lot of people don't want to be involved in studying. They want videos. I can assure you some things just aren't video. You need to read it rather than just simply getting a video, because there's going to be some nuances here that just going to be hard to do in a video, just unless you want someone to watch someone reading it to you. And that, I don't think they have a audio book of this. That would be kind of a pretty dry go if you wanted to do an audio book of this. It would go on for a while. But nevertheless, highly recommend it for this particular chapter. Now, you said I had a second chapter I'd want to review, and that is the one chapter on vertebrate pests, and I will review that in another podcast down the road. All right, well, that's basically it for this week, just speaking highly about Dr. Corrigan's chapter on rats and mice. Of course, anything by Dr. Corrigan is going to be worth your time. So if you happen to deal with that and you want to expand your information, that chapter is the way to go. And I don't get paid for this, just letting you know I had to pay for my own book, so I didn't even get a review copy, so I paid for it myself. But that's basically it for me. I'm Stephen Vantassel. You've been listening to the Wildlife Control Consultant Podcast, where we cover all things related to vertebrate pest control from a technical standpoint. Do take a few moments, if you would, subscribe to the channel. Let me know how I'm doing. If you have questions, thoughts, criticisms, suggestions for new shows, perhaps you have a topic that I should cover, or perhaps you have a business or a friend that you know doing wildlife control work, or a manufacturer who should be on the show, definitely point them in my direction. I'd love to chat with them to see if we can put a time where we can get them on the show. I'd love to hear from them. Again, I'm at wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com, wildlifecontrolconsultant@gmail.com. And that's basically it for this week. Take care, everyone. This is the disclaimer for Wildlife Control Consultant Podcast. Vertebrate pest control is an inherently dangerous activity involving risk of bodily injury to you, others, and or property. Vertebrate pest control also involves legal issues, so be sure to always follow national, state, provincial, and local laws when using pesticides and or other control methods when controlling pests. Wildlife Control Consultant LLC, Stephen M. Vantassel, or their affiliates are not responsible for your use of the information provided here. Always consult a qualified and appropriate professional before employing the information provided here.